The message is clear. The United States will not allow China to weaponize the Panama Canal. In a fiery statement, U.S. officials pushed back against growing fears of Chinese influence in Central America, issuing a bold guarantee. China did not build this canal, China does not operate this canal, and China will not weaponize this canal. The Panama Canal, one of the most strategic trade arteries in the world, is now at the center of a growing geopolitical flashpoint. And Washington is making it crystal clear. American power will keep it open and neutral. So what's actually happening in Panama? Is China trying to gain leverage? And how serious is the U.S. about defending it? Let's break it all down. Chapter 1. Why the Panama Canal Matters. The Panama Canal isn't just a marvel of engineering. It's a global choke point. 5% of all global trade passes through the canal. It shortens shipping routes by over 8,000 miles. It connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, reducing dependence on risky sea lanes. If the canal were ever controlled, blocked, or influenced by a hostile power, it would send shockwaves through global commerce. That's why the U.S. is watching closely. Chapter 2. China's expanding footprint. China hasn't taken over the Panama Canal, but it's making moves. Chinese companies operate ports at both ends of the canal. Infrastructure investments across Latin America have exploded, including in Panama. C.K. Hutchison, a Hong Kong-based conglomerate, holds key port contracts and logistics hubs. This is part of China's broader strategy known as the Belt and Road Initiative, a global infrastructure web that gives Beijing economic influence and political leverage. And while China doesn't operate the canal itself, its presence at the gates is raising red flags. Chapter 3. The U.S. Response. Military B. Diplomatic. The U.S. isn't taking chances. Together with Panama in the lead, we will keep the canal secure and available for all nations through the deterrent power of the strongest, most effective, and most lethal fighting force in the world. That means stepped-up naval patrols in the Caribbean and Pacific. Closer ties with Panama's government and military. New intelligence sharing agreements. Increased funding for regional security cooperation. This is deterrence, without occupation. The U.S. isn't looking to retake the canal, but it's making sure no one else does either. So Chapter 4. The strategic backdrop. Why now? Because global tensions are peaking. China's navy is expanding faster than any in history. Taiwan tensions are drawing U.S. forces toward Asia. The U.S. is reinforcing its position in the Western Hemisphere to prevent encirclement. In this context, Panama is not just a canal, it's a geopolitical lever. Who controls the choke points, controls the game. Chapter 5. Panama's role. Panama has said it loud and clear. The canal is neutral. It is Panama's sovereign asset. It must remain open to all. But Panama also faces enormous economic pressure. Chinese investment offers, loans, construction projects, digital infrastructure. That's why the U.S. is countering with strategic partnerships, not just warnings. Investment in education, infrastructure aid, diplomatic support. America is reminding Panama, your canal, your rules, but our partnership. Chapter 6. The risk of escalation. Could this turn into a crisis? Not likely, but not impossible. If China moves to militarize a port, deploy cyber assets to monitor transit, use logistics hubs for intelligence gathering, then Washington may respond with economic sanctions, military blockades, strategic port seizures in the name of international security. Nobody wants that, but the risk calculus is rising. Chapter 7. Historical context. The U.S. built the Panama Canal in the early 1900s and controlled it until 1999. Since then, Panama has run it under the Neutrality Pact, backed by international law. But the U.S. has always viewed the canal as part of its strategic perimeter. This is about more than trade. It's about power projection. Chapter 8. The Chinese Strategy. Beijing's strategy is subtle. Invest without confrontation. Control logistics without firing a shot. Use debt and contracts as leverage. This is gray zone warfare. No invasions, no bombs. Just contracts, influence, and quiet positioning. The U.S. sees it. Panama feels it. And the rest of the hemisphere is watching. Chapter 9. What the U.S. is really saying. The message isn't just to China. It's to every ally and adversary. America defends its backyard. Strategic choke points are not for sale. Neutrality must mean neutral, not Chinese-funded. This is a reaffirmation of the Monroe Doctrine 2.0, no strategic threats in the Western Hemisphere. The canal is the test case. Nador Intebrum. Chapter 10. Final Thoughts. The Panama Canal is back in the spotlight. Not because it's under attack, but because it's under pressure. As China expands and U.S. influence is tested, every inch of strategic territory matters. The U.S. has drawn a hard red line. China will not weaponize this canal. Now we wait to see if diplomacy, deterrence, and partnerships will hold the line. Because in the 21st century, the great power game isn't just played with armies. It's played with infrastructure, ports, and leverage. And the Panama Canal is now one of the most valuable cards on the board.